Catholic priest claims voting pro-choice is worse than R-ing children. A Catholic priest in Rhode Island callously disregarded the severity of R-ing children by claiming that voting pro-choice is significantly worse than sexually abusing children because, quote, pedophilia, meaning that thing that we all don't like when people do, stigmatized attraction. Pedophilia doesn't kill anyone. Father Richard Bucci, the Sacred Heart Catholic priest, the Sacred Heart Catholic Church priest, sent a bulletin to several lawmakers banning them from taking communion. He denied all those who voted for the state's Reproductive Privacy Act, which officially adopted the 1973 U.S. court ruling that legalized abortion, the legislation also known as Roe v. Wade. In addition to denying them communion, Father Bucci refuses to allow the pro-choice lawmakers to act as witnesses in a marriage, be godparents, read a eulogy at funerals, or any other church affair. The priest added, quote, "We are not talking about any other moral issue, where some may make it a comparison between pedophilia and abortion. Pedophilia doesn't kill anyone, and this does."
I once heard a canon lawyer make an argument about, not against, but in the understanding of the pedophilia happening in the Catholic Church. It was in a film about that. And he said something about, if you think, why do often Catholics make light of this? You know, how harmful it is to do something like this to a child, the R-ing, or any kind of molestation, is that he was saying that in Catholicism in general, all sex is bad, right? If it's all bad, then the spectrum of the type of it isn't as defined as it is if someone doesn't perceive any of that kind of engagement. There's some that's not bad or some that's acceptable, because even within the confines of marriage, there's a lot of implicit and explicit understanding that it in and of itself is bad. You know, you're born with it because you came from this act, the original sin. So I think that his point was the perspective or the spectrum of what people would consider bad and really really bad becomes compressed, because it's all in any of it's bad, whether it's within a marriage relationship between consenting adults or whether it's doing something to a child. It still falls in the bad pile.
Well, there's actually a very interesting background to all of this. So, Rhode Island State Representative Carol Hagan McGinty is one of the lawmakers banned from receiving communion. She commented on the matter, stating, quote, "If he wants to weigh the heinous crime that his predecessor committed on my sister, compared to what he believes I did wrong by voting for what I believe is right for the people of the state of Rhode Island, I don't think they can even compare. It's important to note that McGinty's older sister was sexually abused as a child at the same Sacred Heart Catholic Church where Bucci now serves." So part of this is an interpersonal battle between this lawmaker who's been personally affected by this in her family with this parish and this priest who now serves at this parish. Prior to Father Bucci's bulletin publicly dismissing 44 lawmakers, State Representative Hagan McGinty led the lawmakers to pass a state law that extended the statute of limitations for child sexual abuse cases, according to CBS News. So, again, this is part of her act as a lawmaker that is cracking down on the Catholic Church. Representative McGinty said that Father Bucci's campaign to pressure and humiliate lawmakers has little to do with abortion or even the 47th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade ruling, as the priest claims. Instead, she says it's about his retaliation against her for helping to pass the bill that extended the statute of limitations for bringing forth charges of child sexual abuse from 7 years to 35 years. A legal ruling that the Catholic Church continues to fight.
All right, so I'm gonna do something that might be not very popular. Um, I'm gonna actually defend this priest. Um, I mean, technically, he's right if you agree with Christianity. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, this is what Christianity gives you. Like, what is, um, so being. I don't know if people have gotten the memo, but all sins are the same in Christianity, and all are forgiven through Jesus Christ. Yeah, exactly what Rivka was saying, right? It doesn't really matter if you steal a candy, you lie to your mom, you abuse children, you commit genocide. It's a sin is a sin. We're all sinners, and all sins will be forgiven through Jesus Christ. Amen. Right? We could wipe it all clean. It's not that big of a deal in God's, like, in the eyes of God, as long as you submit to Him, which is interesting because that's Islam. Anyways, but abortion, you are killing souls that could have potentially become Christian. These are you are taking the opportunity away for souls that are existing now, according to Christianity, for them to be born and accept Jesus and be saved. Like, if you like abuse a child, your one soul, right, still has the opportunity to be saved through Jesus. If you aborted these millions and millions of fetuses, which each one of them is a soul, you have taken millions. Like, if you're pro-choice, you're promoting the idea of all these millions of souls never being saved through Jesus. Which one of them seems to be a higher priority?
I
Like,
think
one of them
it's
say
because you're acting like God by doing that.
One second, please. One of them is severely insignificant compared to the other one, especially given how the main thing that matters in Christianity is, like, the ultimate thing that matters is whether a soul is saved through Jesus Christ or not. That's the only. Everything else is secondary. So then
Well, I mean, so yes, but there are sins that are worse than others, and there's certain sins or offenses that can get you excommunicated, which are some of the worst. One of those is seeking and procuring an abortion. Right? That doesn't mean that you are necessarily eternally damned. You can come back to the church. You can, but it's what?
No, it's not that. Okay, some sins are worse than the other one because of the church's administrative reasons, for bureaucratical reasons, for the efficiency of saving the highest number of souls through the church kind of reasons. But that's not because of God Himself sees these sins as one of them worse than the other one. Like, it doesn't really matter if you lied to your mom or if you committed genocide. If you all of them, you're just a sinner in the eyes of Jesus. Like, so those are worldly bureaucratical reasons that, like, oh yeah, this is the penalties for this should be higher than this, we should excommunicate to you for this but not for this. That is just for administrative purposes. But when it comes to what actually matters at the end of the day, like, a priest could be like not say, okay, so for example, just because somebody is excommunicated, that doesn't mean they're not going to get saved. They still might get saved by Jesus. And just because somebody is still in the church and just church accepts them as like a priest, that doesn't mean they're saved. They might not really believe in Jesus and die and go to hell. So they don't see that as the same thing, right? So excommunication, that doesn't mean that Jesus, you're on the wrong side of Jesus, for example. But anyways, go on.
I think actually it's a combination of a couple things. So the idea that in Christianity, the most important thing is to spread the good news, make other people Christian, right? Accept and move on, right? You've got to worry about other people. So there's that level of soul, hunger that they're looking for, right? But I think the real issue with the abortion thing is that humans have usurped the role of God by getting to decide which soul comes to fruition on earth and which doesn't.
Mhm.
Because God does things like, you know, sometimes you have a miscarriage or you can't get pregnant, and you know, so all their prohibitions on birth control are again this usurpation of human will over what God and God alone gets to decide.
Not
Do
really.
you become pregnant or do you not? Is this baby born, or does this baby somehow not be born in the material world, right? The, you know, breathing air. And so that has a soul nature to it, but at the same time, it's only God gets to decide these things.
Actually, they do believe it. Go on.
I did an entire presentation about how contraception in the Catholic Church, and I looked at the Catechism from Vatican II and the 1983 Code of Law. And Rivka's essentially right. So it comes down to a belief in how it's interfering with God's divine and perfect plan. So that's why this attitude is not only extended towards abortion, which I feel like even outside of a religious context, people often feel very strongly about it, that it's murder, right? But even within Catholicism, there's that context, but then that extends to contraception, period, because it is seen as interfering with God's perfect plan, which always made me think, then why don't they have a problem? Well, some Catholics do have a problem with artificial insemination and IVF. I can't remember what that stands for. But then they should also have a problem.
In vitro fertilization.
Thank you. They should also have a problem with things that help erectile dysfunction. If we're going to be truly consistent, like that's messing with God's perfect plan as well.
Well, and what's interesting too about this whole idea about messing with the plan and, you know, the control of this through contraceptives. I mean, and this extends to all kinds of things, you know, all these prohibitions, you know, so a woman goes through menopause and can't become pregnant. A lot of women and men were advised to live as brother and sister. You know, they have the rhythm method, which is the only allowable form. They call it Catholic roulette because it fits with God's plan, right? There's these periods of time, you know, and so it's interesting that, yeah, I think it has to do a lot with the usurpation of authority that is given to God and God alone.
Yeah, and according to religious and Catholic thinkers and the Catechism, that's pretty consistent.
Okay, so just to be, I'm just going to say something, right? The responsibilities of humans is independent from what God eventually decides, okay? Just because God has a plan, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be trying to, like, people, like a lot of atheists say, like, oh, well, if God decides for me to have, like, it was God's plan for me to have an abortion, or it was God's plans for me to be like, you know, take pills or whatever, not to have a baby. Like, this whole notion of between the philosophy between free will and when God's determinism steps in and when human responsibility, what role, like that has been debated for the past 2,000 years between, you know, so this is not something like the atheists keep saying as a joke, like, well, God decided for me to have an abortion. Like, do you think they haven't been coming up with counterpoints to this? Christians for the past 2,000 years, they already have that, right? So there's that. Also, I just want to make it clear that I am not suggesting that this guy is, what he's saying is correct. What I'm saying is that it's consistent with Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not just this guy being rotten to the core. This is Christianity being rotten to the core, right? This comes from Christianity, like, but he is being consistent, I think. Okay. Mm-hmm. I also want to address a whole bunch of people saying, like, actually, let me, Varun just give us a super chat. Varun saying abortions. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat.
Thank you.
Saying abortions affect customers' base. P does not. Every business cares about their customers' base. My 2 cents. I don't think that's how.
It's your $5.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for the super chat, but I don't think that's how they think. I don't think that's how they are operating. No, I don't think that's that.
At least not explicitly.
Yeah, I mean, not even. I don't think they're being that pragmatic when it comes
Yeah.
to customer. This guy's gonna die soon. Like, do you really think? No, they actually genuinely. These people genuinely think they care about people's souls. I mean, most of them at least. He's being consistent. It's not a. He's being consistent with Christianity. It's not about saving the business, the customer base, and stuff like that. I do also want to highlight a whole bunch of people saying, look at this. Where was this guy? I need to highlight this. Somebody was saying, "Oh,
Is
here,
this another bad pro-abortion argument?
Yeah, somebody was saying.
We're kind of running a little bit long on the news, so maybe.
All right, guys. Fetuses are not babies. Fetus lives don't matter. Okay, fetuses are not self-aware. You could have them on your salad if you wanted. Okay, it doesn't. You could, you could get pregnant and have abortions as for fun if it doesn't harm your body or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay, if it didn't, you could do it just to piss off Christians. Okay.
Oh my God.
If abortions wasn't harmful, you could just fetus lives do not matter. Okay, you could end as many of them. You could as many of them as you want. They're not self-aware. Nothing. They have zero rights. And this whole idea of even your people's defense of being pro-choice is insane as well. It's women's rights to choose.
Not really. Get into that today.
No, I'm just really quickly. Not really. If it was self-aware and if it was being tortured in any way, or if it was no, it's not just a woman's right. It would be the fetus would matter as well. Okay, you cannot just if it was an actual entity that has self-awareness. It's not a woman's choice. There's two bodies here that we need to care about, not just one. Okay, but the reason why we should be pro-choice, that's because it's a woman's right to choose. Stop being such a white knight. I care about women. Okay, fine, yes. You're a white. Okay, you're pro-woman. Great job. No, this is because fetuses have zero rights because there's no they have zero self-awareness. They don't matter. You could kill as many of them as you want. Okay, go at it. Okay, commit genocide on fetuses. Anyway,
interesting because the Catholic Church's response is the opposite. If a woman was in labor and you had to save the life of the mother or save the life of the baby, one or the other, they save the life of the baby, or at least they used to.
This person's saying, Armin, stop, you'll get banned here also.
Wait, why would I get banned? For saying you could end fetuses? Nobody disagrees. I'm just saying your arguments people have for it.
Let's go to the next news because
one more comment. I am full. This member comment. I'm full with Armin on this. I hate it when they say it's because of my body, my choice. Yeah, exactly. It's not because of that. And also subscribe to our newsletter, because if we get removed from all these platforms, at least we could reach out to you. And guys, by the way, if you subscribe to our newsletter, you get a free copy. Where's your copy, Susanna? Get it. We're doing promotion. You get a free. It's not even promotion. It's free. Okay, so if you subscribe to our newsletter, link in the description, you get a free copy of Why There's No God. Come on, I'm handing it out for free. Okay, it's a bestseller on Amazon, and you get it for free. So subscribe to our newsletter, and you get a free copy of Why There's No God sent to you. Link in the description.